Jazz get an exciting win against the Boston Celtics. It's the Hoops Nerd Show. Let's talk about it. All right, that game was a lot more fun than I thought it would be. I was a little bummed before the game started because Jaylen Brown didn't play, and I want to see this Jazz team go up against good teams like the Celtics at full strength. And I know that the Celtics have struggled this year for a bunch of reasons. Brown's injuries. Jayson Tatum has had a rough year just statistically, but it does feel like the Celtics have kind of turned things around recently. Let's talk a little bit about the Celtics, and then we'll talk about the Jazz. This Celtics team is one of those teams that it's hard to get like a real good grasp of how good this team is right now. But coming into this game, they were one game over 500. After losing this, they'll be a 500 team. I think they're a little bit better than that if they're fully healthy. I think Al Horford was actually a nice pickup for them. They probably should have just never gotten rid of him in the first place, along with, some other guys. The Celtics, to me, are one of those teams that, there's different ways you build teams in the offseason. You make trades, you do free agency, you do it through the draft. The Celtics under Danny Ainge, they took pride in never having a bad contract with any of their players. We're not going to give a bad contract to a center. Like, we're not going to overpay Al Horford. And that means that Al Horford leaves, then so be it. The same thing with Gordon Hayward. Gordon Hayward, probably not a guy that's worth the contract that he has. But sometimes the market dictates what players are paid. And so, the Celtics, you can give them all the credit in the world for sticking to their guns and not paying those contracts, but now they're just a team that looks a lot of times like they really could use Gordon Hayward. Honestly, this Celtics team, if they have Gordon Hayward, is a really, really good team. And guess what? If you overpay him and you overpay Horford, I don't know. This team, and I know Gordon Hayward's injuries and all that stuff, and this is just kind of spilt milk talk. It doesn't really do you any good, but They should have paid Gordon Hayward, and they should have paid Al Horford, because they'd be a better team now, and they'd still have some interesting young players that they could develop. But I don't know. But anyways, watching this team tonight, it was clear they missed Jaylen Brown, and if Jaylen Brown plays, then this game's probably a lot different. Jayson Tatum tonight had 37 points, but he went 2 for 11 from 3. If he has a better 3-point shooting night, it's a different game. So if you're a Celtics fan, I think there's a lot of things to be happy about. The Jazz just went absolutely bonkers from 3 tonight, and the Celtics were in this game. I think the guy that really just impresses me all the time is Marcus Smart, and his ability to just be a grenade on defense. And tonight, where the Jazz had so many turnovers, let's just look at total turnovers for the Jazz. The Jazz could not hold on to the ball. 19 turnovers. And I know people will say, well, the Jazz got to be better about not turning the ball over. It's interesting. The Celtics actually had 20. Let's see. Celtics had more turnovers than the Jazz. Well, let's see. 19 turnovers for the Jazz. 6 turnovers for the Celtics. Holy smokes. That's why the Celtics were in this game. Because you look at someone like Jayson Tatum. He went 2 for 11 from 3. The shooting just was not really there. Let's see. But as a team, they actually shot pretty well, 35%. So that's interesting to me. Holy smokes. The turnovers is the story of this game. And you really got to give a lot of credit to Marcus Smart for that. He was absolutely just deflecting balls everywhere. 4 steals for Smart in this game. He's just a grenade on defense. And I don't know if they're going to trade him at some point. But man, he is kind of he's that guy on the perimeter that they can put on everyone's best player, and he does a good job. Although tonight, you know what? The Jazz, the guards scored except the ball. I guess that's the give and take. You can give up turnovers, but Marcus Smart didn't really stop the Jazz guards. The Jazz guards did great tonight. I don't know. There's not a lot else I want to say about the Celtics other than I wish they'd play Aaron Naismith more, because I think he's going to be a good player for them. And I know his shooting's really down from 3 this year. For some reason, his 3-point shooting just took a massive dip. But I'd like to see him play more. Grant Williams has turned into a nice player for them as well. Every time I watch him, it seems like he's just a solid defender, and he hits shots, and it seems like he moves the ball really well. So there's some players on this Boston team for Boston fans to be happy about. All right. Let's talk about the Utah Jazz, and in my opinion, the best backcourt in the NBA, at least offensively. Tonight, let's just look at the Utah Jazz backcourt. Mike Conley and Donovan Mitchell, 12 for 22 from the field for Donovan Mitchell, 6 for 14 from 3. That's 42%, and 4 for 4 from the free throw line. Donovan Mitchell went superstar tonight. 54, 42, 100. That was the line for Donovan Mitchell tonight. By the way, Donovan Mitchell had 6 assists, 0 steals tonight, which is interesting because he's had such a good year in steals. 34 points for Donovan Mitchell. Absolutely superstar. Unbelievable what Donovan Mitchell is doing. He's absolutely incredible. Jace Garner, the officials literally gave me cancer tonight. They were really bad. They were really bad. Like, there were times where it's just like, here's a thought about officials, and then we'll get back to Donovan Mitchell and Mike Conley. Do you guys ever feel like there's a job out there that you don't feel quite qualified for? Or have you ever felt like, oh, maybe I won't get that job, or maybe I don't deserve that raise or that promotion? Guess what? These officials make 6 figures. Some of them make $200,000 to $300,000 or more. Go for that promotion. If these refs who are this bad at their jobs can get that money, then you guys can go get that promotion. You guys can go get that job. You guys can go get that raise, right? Right. If like Robert Hall, chubby JJ Redick can get a job making 6 figures on an NBA court, calling bad fouls on NBA superstars, then guess what? You guys can go get that promotion. All right? Go update your LinkedIn. I bet you can go get paid more because these refs get overpaid like crazy. By the way, Robert Hall, $5, chubby JJ Redick. Yes, they're just bad. NBA officials are so overpaid. You know what I mean? Is there a more overpaid person on this planet than an NBA official? I don't think so. I really don't. I don't care what sport it is. They're just so bad. That's all I'll say. But anyways, Donovan Mitchell, absolute superstar tonight. You have to give him all the credit in the world. 34 points. He was the best player on the floor. He just was. He can do everything. And big time clutch shots. Absolutely monstrous. The other guy that you've got to give monster credit to, Mike Conley had one of the most amazing offensive nights I've ever seen. Let's see. Mike Conley tonight, 9 for 13 from the field, 7 for 7. So he was 69% from the field. Lucky number 7 for 7 from 3. That's a nice stat line. And 4 for 5 from the free throw line. 29 points for Mike Conley. He had the biggest plus minus on the team, plus 21. The Jazz, basically what they did down the stretch is they went with Mike Conley pick and roll with Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell just going Allen Iverson, Michael Jordan on the perimeter. It was unbelievable. It's like he was going Kobe, and it was amazing, and it won the game. The Celtics have Marcus Smart. They have a premier perimeter defender. The nice thing is that the Jazz could move the ball to their different guys. So if Marcus Smart's on Donovan, then give the ball to Mike Conley and he can run a pick and roll with Rudy. And vice versa. If he's guarding Mike, then give the ball to Donovan and he goes and he gets buckets. Fantastic. The Jazz backcourt is one of the best. It's the best offensive backcourt in the NBA. It just is. When they are on, they're unstoppable. Now, we got to talk about a few things. Bojan Bogdanovic had a nice offensive night tonight. 4 for 7 from 3, 5 for 10 from the field, 2 assists, 1 steal. So a nice night from Bojan. He really stretched the floor. And Bojan's been playing really nice basketball recently. Royce O'Neal, one of my favorite stats of the night is 10 rebounds for Royce O'Neal. 5 assists for Royce, 12 points. I mean, that's almost getting into triple-double watch there with Royce. That's just such a Royce stat line. 12 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists. And that guy just plays hard. He's fantastic. Robert Hall, $2. Jingles back-to-back threes. I'll take it. Oh, yeah. Joe Ingles hitting big-time threes at the end was also huge. It's nice to see Joe Ingles. Like, honestly, Joe Ingles from last season finally decided to show up in the last 5 or 6 games. You know, he showed up big time when Royce O'Neal rested, and it was nice to see Joe Ingles tonight have a big night because that's one of the weird things with Joe Ingles is how he will show up big time with the starting unit, and then he goes to the bench, and it seems like he struggles. Although last year, I think people forget that last year he was a candidate for 6th man of the year. because he played really well. And part of that was because he did have awesome games with the starters. And it's probably why he just didn't get Sixth Man of the Year, because he played too many games with the starters. But he had a good year last year with the bench. But anyways, moral of this story is that Joe Ingles going 3 for 5 from the field, which was all 3-point shots, 3 for 5, which to me is fantastic. Because that, to me, at this point in Joe's career, is his most important thing, is just his 3-point shooting. But 3 rebounds, 2 assists, I'll take it. Joe Ingles, 22 minutes, even that might be a little much, but 5 threes from Joe, that's all you can ask for. That's what you want. He is an elite 3-point shooter. And at this point in his career, that's what I want Joe Ingles doing. If I'm running too much you can run pick and roll with Joe, he can do that, but I want that to be a secondary option. Number one option for Joe is taking threes and corner threes, and just, that's what you want him to do. Let's see. So Joe Ingles, let's see. I think that's everything. I will say the one guy that's making me a little nervous, and he's been slipping a little bit lately, is Hassan Whiteside. And I think that's something that you've got to watch a little bit. Is he sliding into what kind of Jazz fans were worried about, that defense kind of falls off? Or is it more that, there are flaws to the Jazz defense? And we're going to talk about that tonight, because this game was amazing, and I think it showed the potential of this Jazz backcourt. And it kind of fits in with what we've been talking about, that this Jazz team really needs to just put the ball in Donovan Mitchell and Mike Conley's hands. Because guess what? What happened is what you saw tonight. It's all you need. It's all you need. All right? All right. But here's the issue for Utah. The Jazz won this game by 7 points. It took Mike Conley going, 7 for 7 from 3. Mike Conley was 6 for 9, 69%, 9 for 13 from the field, for the Jazz to beat the Boston Celtics, who were without Jaylen Brown, by 7 points. Now, you could argue that's turnovers, and you can improve the turnovers, and I think that's something the Jazz can definitely do, is improve on the turnovers. But this Jazz team has the best offensive backcourt in the NBA. They just do. Mike Conley and Donovan Mitchell, when they're playing like this, who stops them? Because if you can just go back and forth and just Mike Conley can run those pick and rolls, and Donovan Mitchell can ISO or run pick and roll with Rudy Gobert as well. And then the other one, who's ever got the ball, the other one can just be on that other wing and take that open three. That's really, really elite. Really elite. The issue is the Jazz have to figure out the defensive issues. They just have to. Because tonight, if Jaylen Brown plays and Mike Conley doesn't go 7 for 7 from 3, do they win tonight? I don't know. It's a really fun win, and it was a blast to watch, and it really showed the potential of what this Jazz backcourt can do. But the Jazz have to figure out something defensively. They have to. That's why you've got to, at this trade deadline, Utah's got to figure out some way to solidify that perimeter defense somehow. At least improve it somewhat. All it's got to be is average. It's just got to be average. Royce O'Neal is the Jazz's best perimeter defender, and at times he looks amazing. But just like the Jazz do on offense against the Celtics tonight, where when you have Marcus Smart guarding somebody, or if you're playing the Thunder and it's Dort or any team that has that kind of elite perimeter guy, those teams can just switch Royce O'Neal off and get someone like Bojan guarding, or Donovan or Mike Conley, who are undersized overall at that backcourt. Like elite offense, but they are undersized on defense. The Jazz have to find a guy this trade deadline. They just have to, guys. They have to. And, Bojan is awesome. And we were in SLC Dunk Chat tonight. The conversation was wild. It was heated about what the Jazz need to do, because this Jazz team, as constituted right now, can win a lot of games. And there's a reason they're the number 3 seed, and they're going to be a top 3 seed. They may, who knows, if there's an injury to Phoenix or Golden State or something like that, or maybe those guys, like maybe the Jazz can get to 2-1 by the end of the year. But they're going to be a top 3 seed for sure. For sure. So we're not saying the Jazz aren't very, very good. But they're like, and I want to write about with SLC Dunk, but the Jazz feel a little bit like a glass cannon to me, where they can absolutely just bombard you. but as there are cracks, and if that glass cannon gets a crack big enough, it may shatter. And we've seen it happen in the playoffs. And so I think what you take from this game is that this Jazz offense, when it's running through Donovan Mitchell and Mike Conley, when they're rolling like this, and Donovan Mitchell is here, and he's like hitting his stride and playing in a way we knew he could, it's fantastic. But the Jazz just they don't even need to be good on perimeter defense. If they can just be average, Donovan Mitchell's steals per game this year is at a career high. Mike Conley is a good perimeter defender. Those guys together are, I would say Donovan Mitchell and Mike Conley is not a bad defensive backcourt. I would argue they're a better defensive backcourt than the Blazers, maybe average. But then when you look at when you have lineups where Bojan and Joe Ingles are on the floor together, it's just not going to happen, guys. We saw what happened against Denver when Joe Ingles was on an island guarding Jamal Murray. We all have nightmares about that. I still have PTSD over that. I can't handle it. Even saying it out loud hurts my feelings. Utah's got to find someone. And that's why, someone I know people in the comments will get angry when I say it, but that's why someone like Larry Nance, in my opinion, is the type of guy you want to go get. You want a guy that does not care about getting too many shots, who will defend and can still space the floor. Someone like that. Can you go get Robert Covington from the Blazers, who the Blazers seem to not be very happy with? Blazers might be really happy to move that guy. Can he be an average to plus defender for the Jazz? Is there someone out there like that that you can bring in that can be a defender that can switch and defend at a average to good level from the perimeter and can still spread the floor on the other end? Like what the Jazz have in Royce O'Neal. Royce O'Neal to me is one of the most underrated players in the NBA. How many people, casual fans, even know who Royce O'Neal is? Can the Jazz get someone like that, average to positive defender, that can be surrounding Royce, or that can surround Mike Conley and Donovan Mitchell? Because when the playoffs happen, you want the ball in Donovan Mitchell's and Mike Conley's hands, and running pick and rolls with Rudy Gobert. And you can win a lot of games that way. And you just need guys that can defend in the playoffs. Can you get someone? The Jazz need someone, because tonight the Jazz had an incredible offense. We got to give credit to, Jordan Clarkson had a pretty decent night, although when you look at the numbers, 4 for 13 from the field, that's 30%, and 3 for 9 from 3. But I actually feel like Jordan Clarkson's been a pretty decent defender this year. I think he's actually been okay. And I guess here's the thing. Maybe the answer is Rudy Gay. Maybe that's just the answer. Is Rudy Gay the answer? In the playoffs, you're going to see Rudy Gay's numbers go up. I just get a little nervous. Can his legs handle that? We've got Rudy Gay. I think he's 36. I could be wrong. I know someone out there always likes to write google.com. I don't have time to look it up right now. I don't care. But he's 35, 36 years old. Maybe Rudy Gay's just the answer here. That once you get in the playoffs, you're playing Rudy, you're starting the game with Bojan Bogdanovic, and hopefully Bojan can get hot and can hit shots. And then Rudy Gay is your Mariano Rivera. He finishes the game. Maybe that's the answer. It might be. Because Rudy Gay is awesome. And, maybe that is the answer. Is that the secret weapon? Guys, let me know in the comments. Is that the secret weapon? Maybe. Maybe it is. But I would like to see the Jazz go through the trade market and find one more guy. Especially like a guard stopper. You know what I mean? That's why Marcus Smart, to me, would Boston trades Marcus Smart for Bojan? I don't know. I don't think they do that. But that's something you think about. Because Marcus Smart, if you watch this game tonight, is an absolute grenade on defense. Marcus Smart would drive Quinn Snyder crazy. He would drive Quinn Snyder absolutely nuts. But that guy is and he just explodes. And I kind of love it, but it's crazy town. You know what I mean? So I don't know. But there's got to be something out there the Jazz can do. Is there a guy out there? Right now, the Portland Trail Blazers just fired their general manager. Can we go get Larry Nance? Can we go get Larry Nance? The Sacramento Kings just fired their head coach. They can't win a game for the life of them. Can we go get Harrison Barnes? Can you go get Harrison Barnes? That would maybe put the... I honestly, if the Jazz could somehow swing Harrison Barnes, they might win the title. I'm not kidding. But I think one thing tonight shows is the Jazz won this game, and they didn't blow out the Celtics. That's what's crazy with how good offensively they were. They won by 7. The Jazz need something on the other end defensively to support Rudy Gobert. Rudy Gobert can't do everything, and they got to figure that out. They have to. And I think they can win the title. I really do. Donovan Mitchell and Mike Conley showed tonight that offensively they've got it. And they don't necessarily need all these other guys hitting threes. If Mike Conley and Donovan Mitchell have the ball in their hands, good things are going to happen every time. It's exciting to watch. But we will see. I think Harrison Barnes is like, I would give up a couple picks and Bojan and see if the Kings would be willing to do that. I don't know. They might be willing to. I don't know. We will see. I doubt Bojan gets you Ben Simmons, though, right? Just got to make you mad in the chat. But I would do that. I would do that in a heartbeat. But I don't think that the Celtics would do, or not the Celtics, the Sixers would do that. Anyways, guys, that's all I've got to really say about this one. Robert Hall, $2. Quinn kept Gobert on the floor in foul trouble. Good point, Robert. That's why you're in the Hall of Fame, Robert. That's a good point. And I think it also proves, here's one thing, here's probably why, we know how Quinn is with foul trouble. You like Jazz, any player on the Jazz gets a foul call, and you know that gif where Forrest Gump runs out of the house and down the street. That's what Quinn Snyder is like to pull a Jazz player out of the game who got like a second foul call. So that tells you just how not great Hassan Whiteside was in this game for Quinn to keep Rudy Gobert in the game. Also, Rudy Gobert's really freaking good, and they needed Rudy Gobert's minutes desperately to win this game. Rudy Gobert's not going to get a ton of credit in this game, but he was a big reason why they won, because Rudy Gobert is the Jazz defense. Everyone else out there, like Royce O'Neal is a good defender, but everyone else out of Rudy and Royce and also Mike Conley when he's trying are like not great. And so Rudy Gobert was a major reason why the Jazz won this game. 5 for 5 from the field for Rudy. Rudy was 80% from the free throw line tonight as well, guys. 18 points, 12 rebounds. Shout out to Rudy. 2 blocks and a steal. Please not Ben Simmons. I don't know, guys. I know the shooting's not there. Okay, let's just go there because we're live, and that's what we do on this channel. We don't make decisions in fear. We don't choose not to talk about what needs to be talked about. Okay, let's say that you're lucky enough to have Daryl Morey, most overrated GM in the NBA, decide that he likes Bojan Bogdanovic's shooting out with Joel Embiid. If you could turn Bojan into Ben Simmons, you do that like that. And here's why. The team that I look at this Jazz team as that I compare, like, I can't remember the person who says it, but what's the path to the finals for this Jazz team? Is there like a historical team that you can compare this Jazz team to that made it to the finals? And to me, probably the team that you can compare it the most to is the Allen Iverson, Dikembe Mutombo 76ers, right? And we know who fits those roles. We know who Allen Iverson is. It's Donovan Mitchell. And obviously Dikembe Mutombo is Rudy, right? That's a good comparison, in my opinion. I think Donovan Mitchell's play style fits perfectly with Ben Simmons. Donovan Mitchell can still do what he does with Ben Simmons on the floor. Here's what's really interesting about the Ben Simmons for Bojan Bogdanovic move is Ben Simmons doesn't want to shoot the ball at the end of games. Ben Simmons is more than happy to let Donovan Mitchell take the big shots. Right? Right? One of the issues I've had with this team this year is I feel like they share the ball too much. I feel like you're constantly looking for shots that you don't need to. Just put the ball in Mike. Like at the end of this game, when you wanted to win the game, you put the ball in Mike Conley's hands and he ran a pick and roll with Rudy Gobert bucket. Time after time. Or when he was guarded and that wasn't there, you just swung it to Donovan Mitchell and he just made big time shots in the clutch like he does. Donovan Mitchell's one of the most clutch players in the league. Go look it up. The numbers are there. He's one of the best in the NBA, and it gets better in the playoffs. Donovan Mitchell can be on the floor with Ben Simmons at the end of games because he can still get that bucket. You know? Like, go just stick Ben Simmons in the dunker's spot. That's what he does. And have Rudy Gobert run the pick and roll. Right? And even if like Ben Simmons' man comes up from Ben Simmons to guard Mitchell, Mitchell can still get that mid-range shot. Mitchell's got that move. He's got that move. And guess what? In the playoffs, you know what's going to be really nice when buckets are hard to get and everyone's guarding their hearts out and clawing their eyes out to stop from scoring the ball and people are punching you in the stomach and guarding you and ripping you and fouling you and grabbing you? When you get a shot off, and you have Ben Simmons and Rudy Gobert to get that offensive rebound, you're getting that offensive rebound. You're getting those buckets. It makes sense, guys. It makes a lot of sense. Now, this is fantasy time because Daryl Morey's not going to do that trade. Like maybe he does. Do the Jazz give them like 4 first-round picks and Bojan Bogdanovic and like Joe Ingles for Ben Simmons? I would do that in a heartbeat. In an absolute heartbeat, guys. Because if he plays power forward, yes, you lose the shooting of Bojan. Sure. And that's not something to just take lightly because it spreads the floor and it helps the Jazz do their blender blah. But guess what? You have Ben Simmons, you immediately have 2 first-team all-defensive guys leading the way. You immediately have Ben Simmons and Royce O'Neal able to switch. And that allows someone like Donovan Mitchell to now be a free safety on defense. Just go for steals, you know? And you finally have that guy that you can just put on their best player. Watch Ben Simmons just become an absolute dog on defense. Joshua Hansen, the Danish Destroyer, my man. $10 from Joshua Hansen. I appreciate it so much, Joshua. You're the man. If we get Ben Simmons, I will be more pissed than a one-legged Ethiopian chasing a donut down a hall. When Ben Simmons, it's batshit crazy. Guys, if you can get Ben Simmons for Bojan, you might win. I mean, you might be easily the best team in the league. Because guess what? Ben Simmons can guard literally everyone. Everyone. Like tonight, you know, Mike Conley was guarding Jayson Tatum and Jayson Tatum was getting buckets. Like he did well on one possession, but every other one, Jayson Tatum was scoring. You put Ben Simmons on Jayson Tatum, the Jazz win this game like easy. And here's the thing, maybe you're like the Jazz offense right now, guys. Here's the other thing. And I'm just talking now because we're just having fun. This is all hypotheticals. That's not going to happen. So it's not like we have to worry about it. But the Jazz offense right now, in my opinion, is almost too good because the defense is just not there. Like the Jazz offense right now is like so far and beyond number one. And their defense is just not there this year. He's just not there. It's just not there for the Jazz. The Jazz have to figure out a way to lower that offense output and improve the defense. The defense, if you get Ben Simmons, is just like through the roof, guys. It's honestly, through the roof. like, think about this. And I'm not trying to like convert you guys to this. I was converted to the Ben Simmons thing a few weeks ago when I just thought about what are the Jazz deficient at right now? Defensive rebounding and perimeter defense. Right? If you could like improve those two things, isn't that what makes the Jazz over the top? What happens when you get Ben Simmons? Those two things are immediately like not just better, but just like top in the league. Honestly, right? Right? Like if you have Ben Simmons, you now, along with Rudy Gobert, you're like, how are other teams getting the rebound? You know? They're just not. And then on your and it's not even just defensive rebounding and perimeter defense. By the way, Ben Simmons, one of the best perimeter defenders in the NBA, if not the best, when he wants to be. And I know you guys are saying, head case. The guy is absolutely an elite defender, And sometimes if you want to win a title, you got to take a chance. You got to take a chance. I don't know. Guys, I don't know. But we've seen what this Jazz team can do in the playoffs. And as fun as tonight was, and it was really fun, and Mike Conley was amazing. Donovan Mitchell hit big-time buckets. I don't know what's going to happen come second round when the Jazz are playing against the Phoenix Suns. I just don't. The Jazz got swept by the Suns last year. And the Jazz really haven't. I mean, is this the best team the Jazz have beat? They didn't have Jaylen Brown. Robert Hall, $2. If Ben is willing to come, you treat like royalty. 100. Robert, this is why I love you. This is why you're in the Hall of Fame. Robert gets it. Robert gets it. All right? Robert gets it. Look, it's as if you're a general manager, sometimes when you're like the Jazz right now are a championship contender, right? I think all of us in the chat agree. The Jazz are a championship contender right now, going for a title. That's what the Jazz are doing right now. They're not like just accumulating talent like they were 4 years ago, where you're just trying to get like, you come across Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert. You're just trying to hit in the draft. And the Jazz are not in that. The Jazz are like, I hope Jared Butler plays. If, Quinn hasn't played him, I don't know what's going on with that. It drives me crazy. But the Jazz are not going to get a superstar in the draft at this point. Maybe Jared Butler turns into a rotation player. I think he will eventually, but it's going to take longer than we thought. You're looking at your team as a contender, and you're trying to look at what are their deficiencies and what are we good at, what are we deficient at, Right now, the Jazz offense is just like through the roof. I'm trying to like be in the frame. The Jazz offense is honestly, guys, it's number one in the league. It's ridiculously good. It's through the roof, and it's probably going to get even better because Donovan Mitchell's three-point shooting is at like 32% this year, and he's a 36% career three-point shooter, so it's going to get better. That's what's crazy. The Jazz defense right now is just like below out of screen bad on the perimeter. Royce O'Neal can only do so much. And I feel like Royce O'Neal is a streaky defender. There are nights where there's certain guys Royce can defend, and there's certain guys Royce struggles with. And Royce really struggles with quick guards. He does better against like wings and things like that, and even like power forwards. But he'll struggle against the quick guards, and we've seen that multiple times. Tonight he did a pretty good job on Jayson Tatum. Jayson Tatum, 2 for 11 from 3. Royce is a beast. But when he's guarding someone like Jamal Murray, he's just not quite quick enough to be able to do it. Ben Simmons can guard those guys. So, maybe that offense does go down, especially in the playoffs. They don't have to guard him in the playoffs. But that defense just goes crazy up. We're dancing. Right? The Jazz can't freaking rebound, and they couldn't beat part of what happened in that series against the Clippers that hurt all our feelings really bad. They couldn't get a defensive rebound when they needed to. We can talk all we want about Terrence Mann. Guess what? If the Jazz rebound the ball, he doesn't get some of those threes he made. Right? And guess what? You know what else? Let's just go there. Go to NBA.com/stats and look at all the advanced hustle stats for the Jazz. You know who is the worst hustle team in the NBA? The Utah Jazz. The worst hustle team in the NBA, guys. In the NBA. The worst. The Jazz collect fewer loose balls than any team in the NBA. That's just a fact. The Jazz have fewer deflections than any team in the NBA. They are the worst team in the NBA at loose balls and deflections. That's just a fact. It's just a fact, guys. The Jazz do not create themselves any easy offense. So if you're not getting loose balls, if you're not getting deflections, guess what you're not getting? You're not getting transition opportunities. All right? And by the way, the Jazz do not have transition guys. Joe Ingles is no transition player. Bojan Bogdanovic is not either. They ain't outrunning anybody. All right? Eric C., go to NBA.com, go to see all stats, switch it to, and then you can start playing around and you can look at all the different stats. It's amazing. Go look at all of it. It's great. But guess what? You go to the hustle stats and you're looking at the Jazz ones, you're going to have a sad time. All right? I'll just tell you that. That's why someone like Ben Simmons comes onto the Jazz. You immediately have one of the best transition players in the league, if not the best. You immediately have a guy that gets more deflections and steals and things like that and disruptions on their offensive sets than anyone. Because, guys, that's how you play good NBA defense. Do you disrupt things? Do you stop teams from playing their sets? You know? I mean, it's not that complicated. You know, it's like in the NFL. You know why Aaron Donald's freaking amazing? It's because he freaking blows up the offensive line and he makes your run play look like garbage. He blows up the set. You know, the same thing is with the NBA. Do you have guys that can just blow up the pick and roll? The Jazz don't have anyone like that. Royce O'Neal sometimes. Royce O'Neal is like, can be that guy. I'd say Royce O'Neal is like a third team all NBA defense, you know, in peak. That's what he can be. I think that's what he is. And I don't think that's an insult. I think he's all defense level, you know, when he's at his peak. If he can play at a certain, I think he can get that spot. I don't know if he will get them because I don't know if he'll get there, but I think he's that caliber guy. I don't think he's first team all defense, but I think he's third team. I think for sure. Ben Simmons is first team all defense. No questions asked. No questions asked. You are immediately dominant, you know? So that's the case. And I know we went on another Ben Simmons tangent tonight, but I feel like if that's like, I mean, could you sell the farm and get Ben Simmons and keep Mike Conley with Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell? Oh my gosh, guys. That's crazy awesome. And I actually think Ben Simmons can play within the Jazz offense because guess what? If you're ISOing and you can create isolations for Ben Simmons in this offense and have Rudy in the dunker spot, so let's say, all right, let's just go there. You have all your perimeter guys with Rudy Gobert in the dunker spot. Rudy Gobert is always going to be on the opposite side of the floor than Ben Simmons because you have to for the spacing, you know? Ben Simmons can beat his guys in isolation like that. He's just big enough and powerful enough that he can beat those guys. He can. Go watch the film. He's a good player. He's not shooting that three and they're sagging off of him. But guess what? I could see Ben Simmons running pick and roll with Rudy Gobert. The size there is pretty impressive. And Ben Simmons has that little floater shot. He can do it. I can envision it, you know? You can envision a lot of exciting things with that move. Now, this is all not going to happen because Daryl Morey ain't trading Bojan Bogdanovic for Ben Simmons. But maybe. Joshua Hansen, what film he doesn't play it? Joshua does not like Ben Simmons. That's okay. You don't have to like him. I didn't like him, but I also, you know what, guys, all right, here's the question. What would you do for a championship? What would you do? What would you give up? Would you sell your soul for a championship? Would you do that? What would you do? What heights are you willing to go to win an NBA championship? Because I would do anything. Literally anything. I would be left crying in a bathroom for the Utah Jazz. That's what I would do. I would do anything for a Klondike bar. No, what would you do? What would you do? What are you willing to give up? Your soul? I would give up my soul for a Jazz championship because my life is kind of sad. I want a championship. I want a championship. I want a championship. That's what I want. I'll do what it takes. I'll do what it takes. I'll take all your barbs. I'll take all the comments and the chat giving me all the barbs. I don't care. I don't care. Give me your barbs. I don't care. I want to win a championship. I'll give 4 first-round picks. That's not even possible in the CBA. But we can hypothetically talk about whatever we want on this podcast. All right? That's what we do. Yes, DW, I would do that as well. I can't read that out loud. Furby Jr., I would not do that. I would steal. No. There's a lot I would do, but I won't do that. No, I will. I want to win a Jazz championship, and I would trade for Ben Simmons. Ooh, mama. Yes, I would. By the way, guess what? If you trade for Ben Simmons, you can always trade him again. Right? But if you go deep in the playoffs, you can always trade him again. Let's win a title and to trade him. I don't know. Or let's win 3 titles. What if you get him and you win 3 titles? Turtles. 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 All right, guys, that's all I got tonight. Everything went sideways. We talked about a lot of different things. We've gone 42 minutes. I don't know if I'm going to put this one up on SLC Dunk Podcast. Maybe we will. Maybe we will. All right. Well, you know what, guys? That's all we've got to say tonight. That was a lot of fun. The Utah Jazz are really fun to watch. They do need to improve that defense somehow, and I don't know quite how you're going to do it, but they've got to do it. Let's give a shout out to our All-Stars. These guys are the ones that make the difference. X marks the spot. Zintas, Jordan the GOAT, best rule. Ryan Perry, the legend. Joshua Hansen, the Danish destroyer. Not a fan of Ben Simmons. And one, Anton Warren, Ezekiel Raisibe, the man from down under. JT Buckets Wardell, Austin R. Grant, the editor extraordinaire. Eric C., the C stands for champion. Donald Schooley, schooling all of us. DW to CB, Darren Williams to Carlos Boozer. Jorge Arrizaga, mi amigo de abajo. Lee Christensen driving the lane. Justin Taich, just in time. Patrick Akubo, the connoisseur. Robert Hall of Fame, and DW Jazz going all the way. Why won't that let me show that? Guys, if you haven't already, like and subscribe to the channel. I just want to say that I want the Jazz to win, and I'll do whatever it takes. And if we can just do the moves that it takes, even if it makes the fan base kind of mad. But then here's the thing. If Ben Simmons comes and the Jazz just become incredibly dominant and awesome, I bet the Jazz fans will love him, right? DW's right. Jazz going all the way. We'll see what happens. But this was a lot of fun tonight, guys. Anyways, if you haven't already, like and subscribe to the channel. I will talk to you next time.